Hey everybody, welcome to Bored Online, Bored Offline. Today we are running down our top 20 most played games of all time based on individual plays. Now in November I did based on hours played, so today we're going to be doing a slightly different look at that. This is based on 1,951 plays of 250 different games. That's about 1,677 hours of playtime, with an H index of 22. The H index, of course, if you're not familiar with that, is that I've played at least 22 games 22 different times. Now, I started keeping track of my plays sometime in 2014, I think around May 2014, sometime in there, which was about a year and a half, 2 years after I started actually playing games. So we're going to get into this list right away. And I do want to mention there is a giveaway hidden in this video somewhere. I'm giving away 4 games from my collection. Every year, at the beginning of the year, I run through all the games that I haven't played at least a year. So it's been at least a year since I played them. And then I get rid of, I kind of rank them and get rid of some of those games. Some of them I trade away, some of them I give away on the channel. This year I'm giving away 4 games on the channel, and you will have a chance to win those. It's always a mystery what games I give away until after the contest is over. So be sure to check the link in the description below and you will see exactly how to enter to win those games. All right, let's get into this list. It's 20 minutes starting now. All right, so number 20 is Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, with 22 plays. This is a dark horror game from Awakened Realms, who, by the way, I just started a great game from them, The Great Wall. I'm really excited to bring more of that to the channel. Tainted Grail is a dark take on the Arthurian legend. It has a very unique combat system that also kind of bleeds over into a diplomatic system as well. You're going through this land trying to fight back the weirdness, which is this sort of dark magic thing that's encroaching on the land and kind of twists everything that it touches and makes everything bizarre and like up is down, left is right, all that kind of stuff. And as you're going through this story, you're uncovering all kinds of dark truths about the past. It's really, really interesting. That's Tainted Grail. Number 19 is Mage Knight with 23 plays. This is the classic of all for solo gaming, and people do enjoy it 2-3 players. I imagine most people don't enjoy it all the way up to 4 players. 3 players even seems like a lot because there'd be a lot of downtime, but I play this almost exclusively solo. It has this combat system where basically you're running through this deck as you play, but the deck isn't just combat, it's also movement, it's interacting with the locals, it has it's everything that you have as a Mage Knight. Your entire personality, all your abilities are in your deck of cards. Every day phase and every night phase you'll run through the deck once, and then at the end of the phase you'll reshuffle it. But throughout the phase, you're going to be adding stuff to your deck. You're going to get artifacts. You're going to recruit other, allies, even though they don't actually go on your deck. They're separate. But you're going to have all these different things that you get to do. That's Mage Knight. Number 18 is My City with 24 plays. Now, My City, we just absolutely blew through this. In one night, my game group sat down and played through the entire campaign. Like I said, 24 plays of My City. Really just an intense, fun night of playing just nonstop this one game. Each individual play is only like 20 minutes or so. I mean, it's really not that much, but that allowed us to really work our way through this thing. And it's this polyomino game where at the end of each game of it. It's a campaign, but at the end of each game, you're going to be putting stickers on the board that are kind of catch-up mechanics, and you're going to be adjusting things, changing things. Every game has a slightly different objective, and it really evolves as you go through, and has a lot of interesting takes on things. Even though towards the end, a couple of the scenarios did kind of it felt like maybe they ran out of ideas a little bit, but it was a really great experience. That's my city. Number 18, Star Wars Imperial Assault. I highly recommend this as a cooperative game using the app. The one versus many version of this, I just don't like a lot. The app version is a campaign. Everybody's on the same team. It's fully cooperative. The app takes care of the bad guys, and it has a sense of exploration, a sense of leveling up. You're playing as minor Star Wars characters. Every now and then, major Star Wars characters will kind of come through in your area, but it's all squad level, right? So you're a couple different heroes, and then you're fighting against a squad of stormtroopers, and you've got an Imperial officer, and maybe an ATST will show up, and a couple of creatures or whatever. And that's Star Wars Imperial Assault. Number 16 is Seven Wonders Duel with 26 plays. This is a 2-player take on Seven Wonders, which is of course a modern classic. But Seven Wonders Duel, you have this pyramid of cards laid out on the table, and you can only access the cards at the bottom of the pyramid initially. And then as you draft those cards, you go back and forth. It's a 2-player only game. As you go back and forth drafting cards, it's going to open up other cards up the pyramid. And so you actually have some choices to make. If this card might be the one you want to take, but if you take that card, what's it going to open up for your opponent? And you play 3 rounds of it. Each round, the pyramid of cards is slightly different shaped, which changes some of the tactics of what cards you might want to take and that sort of thing. And the expansion for this is great as well. I highly recommend it. That's Seven Wonders Duel. Number 16 is Gloomhaven with 27 plays. Gloomhaven is a massive campaign game with all kinds of unlockable characters. The sheer effort that went into making this game balanced, that by itself is just mind-boggling, let alone the design itself. What a fantastic game. The combat here is card-based. You have a deck of combat modifier cards that when you flip them over, it's going to do different things, but as your character levels up, you get to modify the modifier deck, and take out some of the bad cards, put in some new good cards. You are leveling up your hand of cards as well, and then each character you create has a life goal, and when they meet that goal, they retire because, hey, they've done everything they want to do, and you have to create a new character. That's Gloomhaven. It has like 99, 96, something like that scenarios in the base game. Number 15 is Forbidden Island with 28 plays. This is one that my kids have really started enjoying, which is why it's moved up the list a bit. It moved up, I think, 6 slots on the list this year. Forbidden Island is like a toned down version of Pandemic in terms of rule complexity. You are on this island and you're trying to collect these 4 treasures, and the island is sinking. Every turn you're going to flip over some cards. It's going to tell you what parts of the island either flood or completely sink. If they flood, you can shore them back up so the island, try to save the island from sinking quite so fast, but you're not going to be able to save it forever, and eventually the island is going to sink. It keeps ramping up. So you got to get those 4 treasures, get them back to the helicopter pad before the island just completely sinks out from under you, and you lose the game. So that's Forbidden Island. Number 13 is Magic Maze, which I don't even own anymore. 29 plays of this. It was a lot of fun. I might still own it. Anyway, regardless, this is a real-time game where no one's allowed to talk. On top of that, there's 4 pawns on the board that you're trying to get out of the mall because you've just shoplifted from the mall in this fantasy world. But as you're trying to escape the mall, each player only can do certain things. So like maybe I can only move pawns up, down, left, up or down. Whereas this person over here can only move them to the left, and maybe they can go down escalators. And this person over here can only move them to the right and teleport or whatever. And so each player only has these specific movements they can do. And so we're all working together trying to get the right color pawn to the right color exit before time runs out. It's really, really intense. It has this one token that you can slam down in front of somebody if there's something you want them to do, but they're just not seeing it. That's Magic Maze. Number 12 is Love Letter Batman with 30 plays. This is one that I really should pull back out. I haven't played this one in a long time. Love Letter Batman, stupid name. It's a Batman game based on the Love Letter system, and it's only got a few cards in the game, and each player has a hand of one card for most of the game, except for on their turn they draw a second one, and then they are going to choose one of those two cards to play, and the other one keep in their hand. And as you're doing this, you don't want to get caught with a certain card in your hand, and you're with a Joker in your hand, and you want to find the Joker by playing Batman cards, or other ways. But if you can force somebody to discard the Joker, that also causes them to lose the game. Pretty sure that's right. And like I said, it's been a long time since I played it. But the games of this are so quick and so fast, it's real easy to knock out 4, 5, 6 games of this all in one sitting in about like 30 minutes. It's a real fun time. That's Love Letter Batman. Number 11 is Terror in Meeple City with 31 plays. This is another one my kids have discovered this year. This one went up 10 spots on the list. This is a dexterity game where you build buildings in this city. The buildings are all held up by meeples. You are like a kaiju type monster going into the city and jumping on top of the buildings, and meeples explode everywhere, and you have special powers. Well, I don't play the special powers with my kids. They're not quite old enough for that yet, but you have special powers and personality traits and secret powers and all kinds of cool stuff in this game. But really, it's just that the enjoyment that comes with lifting your monster over a building and dropping on top and seeing the meeples just shoot out in all directions. Hopefully, they don't get run off the board, though. If the meeple actually gets off the board, then it has escaped the city, and it can actually cause some damage to your monster. That's Terror in Meeple City, also known as Rampage. Number 10. Thunderstone Advance. This is one that has been sitting on my shelf for a while. This was a top 10 of mine for a while. I really need to pull it back out and play it some more. Thunderstone Advance has 31 plays. This is the precursor to Thunderstone Quest, and it was essentially the second edition of Thunderstone. And you have two things you can do in your turn. You can go to the village, or you can go to the dungeon. If you go to the village, you're going to hire some heroes. You're going to hire, or maybe you'll upgrade heroes you already have, or you're going to hire some civilians to come help out, or maybe you're going to buy some equipment. If you go to the dungeon, you're going to fight a monster, hopefully beat it, and then it's going to come into your hand and clog your hand up. And so you're playing this constant game of trying to beat monsters, but then also deal with the fact that they're in your hand now, they're in your deck now, clogging things up. This is a deck builder, by the way, so you run through your deck a lot during this game. Number 9 is Friday with 32 plays. Friday is a solo-only game. It was the first solo-only game I ever played. You are basically you are Friday trying to help Robinson Crusoe, who in this game Robinson Crusoe is a complete moron. And it's another, I guess it's a deck builder, yeah, because as you run through, different challenges show up. If you can beat the challenge, you literally flip the card over 180 degrees, and now it's some sort of asset for you to use in the future. And so you keep running through the deck. You have a green phase, a yellow phase, and a red phase. If you manage to make it through the red phase, then you got to fight 2 pirate ships to finish the game. And if you manage to beat those pirates, you win the game. But you have a very limited amount of health, and it is a really hard game, especially when you play it on the higher difficulty levels. Number 8 is Mechs versus Minions with 33 plays. This one shot up the list 10 spaces. This is actually the last game to go up on the list this year. Mechs versus Minions. My new game group and I played through the campaign, had a blast for the first at least 7 missions, but then the last 3 just really started dragging on. The difficulty seemed to spike, but it spiked based off of luck, not off of like increased skill test or anything like that. It was just random chance. It seemed to be the method they were using to increase the difficulty. So that was unfortunate, but obviously I've got 33 plays of this game. Most of those plays are early on, as I play the game with my kids or play the game with whoever. So clearly there's a lot of fun to be had in this game. It was just unfortunate those final few missions kind of dragged on. Number 7 is Sushi Go with 36 plays. This is a absolute classic in my family. Sushi Go is a drafting game. You have a hand of cards. You're going to pick one, put it down, face down, pass your hand of cards. Everybody reveals the card they have at the same time, and they're all various types of sushi. And essentially what it comes down to is it's a set collection game. So certain types of sushi, like the dumplings, every one of those you collect, you're going to increase your score by a set amount. Or if you get 3 nigiri, I think it is, then you get 20 points, which is a lot of points. But if you don't get 3, if you have 2 or 1, they're worth 0 points. And so you have all these different types of sushi that have these different ways of scoring. I have not played Sushi Go Party. I hear it really brings a lot of cool stuff to the table, so I'm definitely going to need to play that at some point. Sushi Go, number 7. Number 6 is Dead of Winter with 37 plays. Dead of Winter is the first time I really saw a trader mechanic in the game. The first game to really holy crap, we can have a game where we're theoretically on the same team, but maybe somebody's not. So this one really caught my imagination. It takes place in a zombie apocalypse, but as is the case so often in zombie apocalypse stories, the people around you are more likely or are frequently more dangerous than the zombies themselves. Now, in this game, the zombies can be a problem. If the horde really starts showing up at your settlement, it's going to be a real problem, but you have ways of dealing with that. If you go out into the city, you go and you search the police station, the grocery store, the gas station, whatever it is, you find different fuel, all kinds of stuff. But be careful, because there is a die that if you don't use a vehicle, if you just walk out of the settlement, you roll this die, and if the tooth pops up, that means you've been bitten and you are dead. End of story. Number 5 is Pandemic Legacy, Season 1 with 39 plays. I played through Season 1 twice. Once with my wife, once with an old game group. I would love to get my current game group into it. I almost think, though, I should play Season 1 with them again and then move on to 2 and 0. I don't know. We'll see. But this takes the pandemic system and puts a legacy sheen on it. Legacy, for those of you who don't know, means that the game, you're making permanent changes to the game. In the case of this one, you are literally ripping up cards. You're putting stickers on the board. You are, whereas in regular Pandemic, you have characters and they just kind of do their things. In this one, they could die. You got to take care of them. They could die, and if they die, you rip up the card, and that character is never used again. It's a really intense experience. A really, really fun experience. Pandemic Legacy Season 1. Number 4 is Splendor with 54 plays. Absolute favorite of my wife's. Splendor is kind of a small engine building game where you have 3 different tiers of cards. The first tier is kind of just helping you kind of get your engine going, and maybe you're going to get a point from some of the cards. The second tier is really going to help you start really moving the engine along, but they're also giving you a decent amount of points. And then the top tier are really hard to get. By the time you get one of those, your engine's going pretty good. They will help continue that, but their engine's going pretty good, but they really are going to give you some points. And then you have 3 nobles every game that you're trying to attract to your tableau area, because they'll give you points as well. And basically, prestige points is how you win the game. I think 15, once somebody gets to 15, the game's over at that point. Number 3 is Pandemic. So we had Pandemic Legacy. Now we've got Pandemic with 55 plays. So what? We've got like 92 plays of Pandemic between the base game and Legacy. Pandemic with 55 plays. This is a game that my wife and I took this game on our honeymoon. And, this was the type of game that we really fell in love with. We still love it. We play it less frequently now, obviously, than we used to, but we still bring it out at least a few times a year to play it again. And you have 4 diseases rampaging around the world, and you are kind of the CDC, I suppose, and you are trying to find cures. You don't have to eradicate all of them, but you do need to find the cures for the 4 diseases. If you do eradicate them, that certainly helps, because once they're eradicated, they don't come back to the board. And let me tell you what, if you've ever, like, the chain reactions that occur when an outbreak happens in this city, and then it makes another one happen here, and then another one here, that can take a board from a pretty decent board state to just, oh my God, we're about to die. That's Pandemic number 3. Number 2 is Star Realms with 72 plays. You'll see these 2, 3, and 4 are all favorites of my wife. And really, if you look at this, I guess even going back all the way down to Sushi Go. So 2 through 7, really, my wife loves all these games. So that explains why they're so high on this list. Star Realms is a 2-player card game deck builder. You have a single row of cards that both players are pulling from. Each player starts with 50 life, which I think is called authority in this game, and you are having space combat back and forth trying to knock the person's authority all the way down to 0. There's 4 different factions in the game that you can recruit into your service, and they do all kinds of, each one kind of has its own thing that it does, and it is a lot of fun. Really fast-paced games. If a game goes 30 minutes, it's a really long game of Star Realms. Normally we're looking at like 15-20 minutes per game. And finally, number 1 with 93 plays, Kingdom Death Monster. What a fantastic game. Anybody that watches this channel knows I love Kingdom Death Monster. It is an absolute blast. It is a dark, dystopian world. It's not even Earth, really. You have these survivors that when they start the game, they can't even speak, and you build a settlement and you build a civilization while dealing with this never-ending darkness and these horrific monsters that show up, and horrific monsters that you go out and hunt for resources. And, as the story evolves, you're asking the question, are we actually just another monster in this hellscape? Are we any different? Where are we a monster that hunts in a pack? And whereas we're going up against these monsters that are these solitary monsters. And this is the end of the list. That is Kingdom Death Monster with 93 plays. Be sure to check out the link in the description below so you can get in on the giveaway. It's going to run for about 4 weeks, so plenty of time. Be sure to check that out. And until next time, if you're bored online, bored offline.